There was a water drop there just right now. That helps. But that's the other part, too, is that the thunderstorms that bring these brief, heavy downpours of rain are avoiding that Murrieta area right now. They're kind of happening around it, not necessarily on it. So what's happening is that we are seeing conditions where we can see the dry conditions around Murrieta. Lightning strikes out towards the east and to the north, but those lightning strikes have those brief thunderstorms, too. And that's rain, heavy rain, but it's not happening around the Murrieta area. So that's just staying dry at the moment. But beyond that, we see those winds kicking up now. We saw them, like I said, 3 to 5 mile per hour steady winds, no real gusts to speak of. Now, here around 3:30 now, we're seeing those winds now kind of doubled in size. Now we're looking at 12, 15 mile per hour winds, gusts 15, 20 miles per hour. So those winds have gusted up, along with the winds that are created once you get in a fire zone. The fire creates its own energy there. You see, because imagine this, what happened when you see that vegetation burn. As that burned vegetation happens, you're getting little explosions. And so as you get those flames popping out, you always hear that popping. That's energy being released. You get enough of that going on, that's where you create those winds from those fires. So when you see that massive a fire area, imagine those little explosions multiplied so many times. That's the wind that's created by that fire. So we're seeing that happening now. So the winds now naturally kicking up, but on top of that, the fire creating its own winds. So that's still a major, major part of this fire fight going on. But the relief from that rainstorm, the heavy downpour, is not happening at the moment. We're going to watch it, though, on the live Mega Doppler 7000 HD, because this was the area that got hit yesterday with those thunderstorms and lightning strikes, which, again, maybe started the fire, but we're seeing it now just being part of the weather picture. So at the moment, there's those gusts, 15 miles per hour, and there's, again, the smoke area there around the Murrieta fire. But you see some moisture, but really none of this hitting the ground yet at all. So we're going to keep an eye on this as well through the afternoon. But right now, the warm temperature, 95, the relative humidity at 32%, and those winds gusting out at 15 miles per hour, some spots even heavier. So we're going to watch this now, but the conditions at the moment, hot, windy. Colleen and Ellen, go ahead.
All right, Danny, thank you very much. Yeah, hot and windy, and we're sort of monitoring this, obviously, because as we know, late afternoon, Danny, those winds do tend to shift and start getting a little bit more active.
Yeah, and that's another thing to watch out for, too, as we approach them. It's still a couple hours away from this, but those sundowner winds are going to be an issue today and tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So when you get that those changes in temperature from between the really hot day to the cooler night, you pick up those sundowner winds. So those also could come into effect here in this area of the fire zone. So we're still seeing the winds now at 15 miles per hour with those gusts, but we're seeing the steady winds starting to increase a little bit more from that 5 mile per hour range, now 11 miles per hour out of the south-southwest. So this is not helping the firefighters when the winds increase. We like to see them stay in that lower range, but now those increase. Add to that the winds that the fire itself creates, and we have some real concerns. So we're going to watch this now. Again, the thing we're kind of hoping for, and again, this is going to be nature doing what it does. Those thunderstorms in the area that brought so much heavy rain briefly is not hitting that Murrieta area. We're seeing on the live Mega Doppler 7000 HD that things are staying towards the north and the east, but not right on top. So if we can get like a brief little downpour coming through, that would certainly be a really a godsend. But at this moment, it's just about the dry conditions. We're talking about the winds at 15 miles per hour. And again, temperature's still hot at 95 degrees. All right, Colleen, David, go ahead.
All right, yeah, David Ono now joining me. Ellen Leyva is getting ready for the Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock. But again, we're continuing to follow this story. It started during Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock yesterday in Murrieta. We know Leticia Juarez, she is still on the ground. Leticia, how are things looking from your end?
Well, right now it's looking a lot better than what it looked like just a few moments ago when you really started to see the fire flaring up over the hillsides just behind me. As you can see right now, CAL FIRE crews, air resources as well, also trying to put some water down. That's a water dropping helicopter just putting down a line of water on top of the fire that broke out, as you mentioned, yesterday and quickly spread this morning. This fire was on top of a ridge. And then by this afternoon, that wind just really helped to whip it up, the flames, and drive it down the slope here. And now what you're seeing is like this CAL FIRE crew, they have some water on this vegetation. That's where some of the fire remains as they're trying to just get those last bits of flames out. They did manage to save the homes from the flames here. As I mentioned, this was an LA County firefighter's home. Him and his son were out here throughout the entire afternoon, wetting down this. As you can see, he's still up there. That's the gentleman that owns the homes, continuing just to wet down the sides of his home, just to ensure that these hot embers that were raining down don't catch anything else on fire, because we have been seeing these hot embers just catching some of the vegetation here at the home on fire, especially as you see this like bark that lots of homes have here, that starts to smolder, and of course that can also be a danger as well. But for the most part, what we saw happen is that fire crews were able to pull lines into this home over here, get the flames out, and of course save a home there as well. So, but as you can see, there's still some really hot spots out here, so firefighters are trying to stay out here, put those hot spots out, just to make sure that residents have homes to come back to. Now we're told the fire, there's another airdrop that just came through. We're told that the fire now is at 2,000 acres. That's up about 600 acres from this morning when we were told it was a 1,400 acre fire. They have about 7% containment at the moment. So we're still waiting to see some more numbers on what the containment is looking like. Right now I'm going to throw it back to you in studio, just because we're getting a lot of noise in my ear, unfortunately, and it's hard to hear. But that's what we have out here right now.
All right, you've been doing some amazing work out there, Leticia. Boy, what a firefight that she was giving us from 3 to 3:30. She was right on top of all those flames. That's a video that you see right there on the right-hand side of your screen. That was what Letty shot just a little while ago, and it's markedly different. It's much better scenario, but it was frightening while we were watching that. In fact, she had to bug out of there for a little while because the flames got so close and they had to move to a different location. We saw the embers flying right in front of their cameras as they watched this incredible firefight happening. And it goes to show that even when we're not in Santa Ana conditions, there's enough fuel out there to feed these fires and really get them moving. And yesterday, we did have some concern. This fire was a fast mover from the very beginning as it broke out yesterday afternoon with lightning strikes is what we believe started it. But what gave us a lot of concern was the fuel out there, because that's what was making this move so quickly, even though the Santa Anas weren't blowing. Danny Romero is with us right now. And Danny, we're nowhere near a Santa Ana event right now. If the Santa Anas had been blowing while the fire broke out here in this area, it would have been far worse.
Right. And again, you see the hillsides also adds to fire buildup very quickly, too, along with those winds. Now, here's one thing, kind of a note of caution. We are kind of heading the next couple of days, looking at the forecast models. We are seeing the winds increase over SoCal, not to like heavy advisory level quite yet, but we're in the next 3 or 4 days, we're going to see things kind of kick up a little bit more through most of the valley areas, the mountain spots, the desert spots. So we're going to have to watch that, certainly, because at the moment, again, not at that advisory level, not that red flag warning level, but the winds will be increasing kind of overall over the next 2 or 3 days as our weather starts to change from this very hot, humid condition we've been having to back to more seasonal conditions. But that said, we still get some of these brief winds that are happening now about southwest 11 miles per hour in that fire zone. Temperature at 95 degrees, so it's still hot. There's all that dry fuel out there, as you mentioned, David and Colleen, and the gusts 15 miles per hour not helping. Now, we noticed, I wanted you to notice something on the picture that we showed you, Letty's area there, is that when we went to her at 3 o'clock, the trees behind her fairly still. As that flame got closer and closer, and again, in that fire zone, it creates its own weather, it creates its own winds. You saw those winds really pick up as the flames got close. Now, see, there's on the right side, how it was earlier. And then now you see, as the flames have died down on the left side of your screen, the trees are a lot more still. Again, those winds created by the fire, not so much a factor at the moment because the fire itself isn't there firing up. But look at on the right side, about a half hour or so ago, look at those trees moving. They give you an idea how much energy is created when that fire is actually right on top of you.
Yeah, that was a lot of concern of mine as I was watching Letty live, and you saw those winds really kicking things up out there.
No kidding. And Leticia, you're right there in our shot. We're seeing you live. Can you talk about you had the firefighters, the 2 firefighters there, you believe it was a father and son from LA County, possible firefighters, watching maybe their residence go up in flames. What's up with that property now? Do you see it? Does it seem like the fire stayed away from it?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look. You're seeing one of the gentlemen there. I believe that's the father of the father and son team that we've been watching just watering down their roof line since we arrived here. Now, we got here about 1 o'clock. We were watching some of the plume of smoke just behind the ridge that kind of butts up to this neighborhood, watching that and then watching it as that flame started to creep closer and closer. And that's something that this father and team were also doing. Now, the rest of his family was also here, and we saw them packing up their cars and vehicles, and they left just as the flames started to get really close to the property. And then when we were live with me, you really saw what happened as that wind picked up. And as Danny was mentioning, creating its own wind and really started to roar. We could just hear the roar. We could feel the intensity of the heat as it really started to get into some of that drier brush that was behind this home. And, you know, there was a real fear that this home was going to catch fire. At one point, we saw the father and son come out here to their driveway. We saw the father kind of holding his son's arm, pointing to things. We couldn't really hear what they were saying just because it was just so loud. And I think there was a real concern that they were going to watch their home burn. And then just CAL FIRE Riverside, this engine right here, pulling up and really saving the day, pulling out their hose lines and putting some water right behind this home, right where that fire was burning, and getting that out. And then we saw the fire started to creep around because just behind these homes is a wash area, and it has a lot of dense brush. And we saw that fire just creep around these homes and come up right behind the home right here, and then hopscotch to the home next door and the next door. And that's when you started to see another crew from the Apple Valley area. It's the engine that's still on scene right here. This is the, if you take a look down here, there's an Apple Valley crew. They're still on scene. It looks like they're wrapping up, but they're keeping a close eye just on some of the flames because there are still some flames. Dave, I'm going to have you kind of follow me. You can see some of the flames just still burning on this hillside here. But for the most part, it appears that the homes are safe, but of course there's always the possibility of hot spots. And just as we were on the air covering this fire, we did get an update about the fire in terms of how big it's grown. Yesterday it was a 25-acre fire. It's now grown to 2,000 acres, 7% containment, which is not much. And so you see that firefighters have a lot to work with. They've been really relying on their air resources to just get on top of these fires and try to get those flames out as quickly as possible, because obviously firefighters want to protect homes. They know that people's lives are in these homes, and they want to do what they can to try and protect those structures the best that they can. And they're dealing with so many elements out here. You got the heat, you got the wind, and you know, they're trying to get the fires as they start to rain down with the hot embers on top of you. I experienced that myself, felt a hot ember fall on top of my turnout gear, something we wear when we're on fires, and you can still feel the heat. Now, we do want to mention that there are evacuation orders in place. Yesterday, they put them in place for the Copper Canyon neighborhoods. That's the neighborhood I'm standing in right now. But they also issued some new ones, and I'd like to mention them right now. They've been evacuation orders for the Montana area, Bonita Place, Bella Cara Place, and Lone Oak Way. They told those people about 3 o'clock, just as we were about to go on air, to get out immediately. It was time to go. It was no longer a voluntary evacuation. It was a mandatory evacuation because the fire started to really march north. And as that fire marched north, it was, as you saw at our 3 o'clock hour, just how fast it really goes. I mean, there really is very little time to get out of its way, and you don't want to get boxed into this area. I mean, we're at a cul-de-sac. There's only one way out of here. Our vehicles are all parked in the direction of this is the way out, and we know the way out. And we knew that we were safe as long as firefighters were here. At any moment, firefighters said it was time for us to leave. We would have hopped in our trucks and we would have gotten out of the area. But as you can see, more air resources being dropped behind these homes just to make sure that those flames are out. It's just really smoking out, and that's a good sign, especially that white smoke that you're seeing in the air just from covering previous fires and talking with firefighters. They say white smoke is always an indication that the flames are being put out and it's starting to like smoke up, but it's still hot, it's still smoldering. In fact, just over here you see some of this vegetation at this home right here. It is smoking. I actually put water on that just a moment ago, and it's still smoldering, which means there's still heat. So there's still that concern that this could always just flare up again. So they definitely want people to try to stay out of the area as much as they can. Allow these fire crews easy access into here. If you're in an evacuation area and you're leaving, make sure you leave your gates unlocked so that fire crews can get easy access to your backyard, because when they need to get back there, they really have no time to fiddle with the lock. They need to get back there as fast as possible, pull their hose lines in, and try to put some water on that fire as fast as they can. So luckily, it appears that this neighborhood did exactly what they were supposed to do. The people that did leave here, they left their gates open. These firefighters got in there quickly, and they were able to save the homes here on Oak Bluff all the way down here. A couple hot spots that they're still dealing with. So right now, It appears that CAL FIRE and this Apple Valley crew right here are just mopping up, making sure the hot spots are up, but they're still dealing with fire just down to the north of us where the fire is getting into that dense brush. And that's, I think, our next destination. We're going to go take a look over there and see what we can bring you at our 4 o'clock hour. Right now, I'm going to throw it back to you guys in studio.
All right, Leticia, be careful as you go out there and continue to follow the flames. The flames have rolled through that neighborhood where she is right now, and they've kind of rolled down to that area that she just mentioned. So she's going to stay on top of that. Danny Romero joins us right now as well, and he has been watching the weather situation. And we will tell you that all of this is going on without a major wind event.
Right.
Granted, it's a hot day. And the weather will be improving in the next couple of days, but the heat is the main situation. But we have the added benefit, Danny, of humidity today.
Right, and that's kind of the changing weather picture here. That's helping and hindering, because we're going to see the temperatures start to drop down. The humidities will start to drop down as well over the next few days. We're getting back to temperatures about where they should be. However, that said, we're going to see the wind start to increase a little bit. So as it gets a little less of the heat, we're getting a little bit more of the wind. Now again, not advisory level winds quite yet showing up on our models, but we are seeing those winds increasing. In fact, in that fire zone right now, it's gone from that 15-mile-per-hour gust, now 17-mile-per-hour gust. So we could see some 20s popping in there as well. So a little increase in the winds. We get near the end of the day, and we do experience what's called sundowner winds. You get a little change in temperature, you get that going into play, and then you start seeing then another increase in the winds, again, the sundowner winds. So that's still one kind of wind event we're kind of watching here the next few hours, especially in that fire zone, because the temp's still warm, downright hot. We've got the heat advisory in those areas there because of those temps that are staying in that very hot to warm zone. And so that continues with us. So another day or so of this intense heat. And then as we head into the weekend, David, Colleen, we'll then see the winds start to pick up a little bit more as the temps start to drop.
All right, Danny, thank you very much. And there are mandatory evacuation orders that are in place in this whole area as firefighters continue to battle this fire. We know that Leticia was in the Copper Canyon area. We know they have a mandatory evacuation orders. So many times people don't always heed these warnings, but it is imperative that people get out to give the firefighters a chance to fight those fires.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that you have to take seriously. And when you live in the neighborhood that's been evacuated and you're not getting out of the way for firefighters, then the reality is you are a burden to them, and you are a burden to them helping you and your neighborhood. So you ought to get out. And also, most importantly, you want to get to a safe place, because there's only so much you could do to fight this fire. You have to leave it to the professionals. And so they really want people to heed those warnings. Also, you have to get your animals out as well. And we've had so many tragedies in the last couple of years when it comes to large animals. And we've covered that quite a bit. So the San Jacinto Animal Shelter is now open for anybody who has large animals that are in this danger zone. Get them out now if you can. Get them to safety so you aren't in a panic if the fire comes rolling around where you are. So the San Jacinto Animal Shelter has been set up now for large animals, to take in large animals to help you out and to keep them safe and put them in a place where they'll be out of harm's way and out of the firefighters' way as well.
That's the #1 importance. And also, if you do have horse trailers, you're obviously trying to evacuate your animals, they can be taken to the Los Alamos Sports Park. So there are mandatory evacuation orders for all the residents along the trail circle in La Cresta as well. So again, just heed the warnings. You're going to see a lot of firefighters coming in. You're looking at live pictures from Air 7 HD as we're seeing the water dropping helicopters and the cranes. You see it right there, trying to really stop this fire from spreading, contain it. We know it's at 7% containment right now, but this fire really, truly exploded overnight, because when we were going to bed last night, it seemed like it was around 150 acres to 200 acres. And then this morning, you're waking up to 1,400 acres. And now this afternoon, we're at 2,000 acres. So it's really moving.
The Sky Crane just did an incredible drop there. And then there's another helicopter with one of those buckets. It's looking for a hot spot to drop its water on. So they're trying to hit this with a number of different aircraft. We've seen a lot of Phos-Chek going down as well, setting up these fire breaks throughout these neighborhoods, trying to keep specific areas from getting approached by the fire, kind of keep the fire contained. So far this is working. We haven't received any reports of any major damage when it comes to loss of homes. just yet, but we're keeping our eyes peeled for any of that. But that is the good news so far. But you can see, look at the tremendous amount of smoke out there. And at 2,000 acres, this fire still is really moving. It was a big concern going into last night. We saw it explode from 50 to 150 acres in a matter of about a half an hour yesterday afternoon. And that gave us some idea that this is a fast-moving fire. It's going to be a tough one to fight. There's a lot of fuel out there. And then by Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock last night, giant flames as we continue to give you coverage, live coverage of the firefight and going through the night and into the morning. We've seen this fire just continue to grow, and it's got a lot of fuel. Luckily, the winds are largely behaving itself. It is a hot day, and the humidity is up. So there's some good elements when it comes to the weather that are in play that will be to our advantage when it comes to getting this fire under control. But you just saw Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock, and we saw the flames coming right up to these homes, actually right over the fence lines into people's backyards. It was quite a firefight and a frightening scene at that when you see these flames coming so close. But you saw some gallant work by the firefighters, and they fought all the flames back. Granted, there will be some fences lost, some damage to the backsides of some of these homes, but so far, no word of any homes that have been lost.
No kidding. And you're looking at live images from Air 7 HD with the Sky Map 7 showing that this is one of those fires that is really in a community. It's not one of those wildfires that's away. This one has been sort of dancing along the lines of these properties. Yesterday, we saw a very large house that was right up on top of a hill in La Crusta area. We saw the fire getting close to that. We saw the firefighters doing an incredible job of getting the flames out. You see right here, you can see the smoke right behind these houses, but this is a whole development, so that's why you see so many mandatory evacuation orders in place. Again, this whole area, very smoky. I'm sure it's very hard for residents to gauge exactly where the fire is, but if they are watching this newscast, you can really get a good perspective of exactly where the firefight is, and you can see their water source, where you can see the helicopters and the cranes where they can. It's very close, which is very thankful for the situation.
Yeah, that's a real convenience for the firefighters right now. Chris Christie was there when this fire broke out yesterday afternoon. He saw how quickly it was moving. He's on top of it again today, and this fire has really progressed, Chris.
Surprisingly so. It's amazing to see this. I'm actually getting my first glimpse of the day here as we come up over the TFR, which they have issued for the safety of all of the air resources involved here. And as we take a look, I am just absolutely stunned based on how we left this fire last night, the way it was able to explode in size overnight, and then that flare up in the last 2 hours, which has come so close to the homes here along Oak Bluff Lane in the northern part of Murrieta. The good news here is that there is a reservoir right nearby this neighborhood that's making it really relatively easy for these helicopters to quickly scoop up as much water as possible and get right back into that neighborhood and continue these water drops one after another, and the star of the show is that sky crane that you saw a moment ago that is able to scoop up 2,600 gallons of water with each drop, and that is proving to be very effective here. As you can see, they are continuing to keep this fire at bay for the most part. But look at this. There's a hot spot right there next to that swimming pool. As you mentioned, the fire in some cases coming right up to the backyards of these fences. They're trying to protect as many of these structures as possible, but I can't stress enough, just based on the way we left this fire last night and the lack of wind out here to really help this fire move along and blow embers in different directions. We're just not seeing that, but yet still the hot spots are persistent, and as you can see, this fire has crept up right up to the backyards of all of these folks here in Copper Canyon.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Chris. It really, you're looking at that one hot spot, and you saw that helicopter making a drop. It's so close, yet just a few feet away from where that hot spot sort of flared up by that swimming pool.
We've mentioned this twice already, but it does make me very concerned about those Santa Ana conditions that will be kicking in a little bit later on this fall. If we're going to have this tough of a fight without the winds, because there's extra fuel out there due to our heavy rains over the winter, this is going to be a really tough fire season for us. If without the wind element in this fire, which by far the wind is the worst ingredient in all of this, without the wind element, this is still a really tough fire to fight. And so we really need to be prepared. And people, when it comes to brush clearance, let this be a warning to all of us. Check your yards and make sure that your home has some protection, some clearance. And so if you're in one of these fire-prone areas, make sure that that vegetation is cut away from your home, because if it goes right up to your home and a fire breaks out, you are in for a lot of trouble.
No doubt about it, David. But you're seeing right there, Sky Map 7 showing all the homes that many of these are under evacuation orders. So
you'll notice the FOS check, though, that's been laid out as a fire break. Chris, beautiful work by these folks up in the air in creating these fire breaks.
Yeah, these precision drops have been very effective at creating some of these breaks. You know, you mentioned the fuel, David. The fuel that we're talking about here is medium fuel at best. In some cases, even light fuel behind these residential suburbs. Not the heavy fuel that we would also expect to see with a fire moving this quickly. So even the fuel conditions are not ideal, but still there is some healthy brush down there that is left to burn. And every bit that is available is going up in flames here adjacent to Copper Canyon, despite some of the brush clearance, which has been, relatively impressive in some parts. Again, the fuel in many spots is relatively light, and that's another reason I really thought yesterday that we were in the clear at a certain point. It didn't seem like this fire would continue to be able to move much further west, at least at the pace that we've seen it, especially with the winds that we've been talking about, or the lack of winds thereof, I should say, just a surprising behavior to see this fire spread the way it has. But nonetheless, it's really enveloped this neighborhood here. So this Single Oak Way here is actually another branch about a half-mile away from Oak Bluff, and this is kind of maybe a quarter-mile away, I would say. And the whole area, this whole part of this subdivision has basically been surrounded by fire as the fire crews continue to keep this fire at bay.
Yeah, it is something to see. And that wide shot that you have live from Air 7 right now, it's a great indication of the amount of homes that are in danger due to this fast-moving brush fire, this very stubborn fire. By the way, you've been watching us on ABC7.com and digitally. We want to let you know in less than a half a minute, we're going to be moving back over to ABC7. Channel 7 News. We have a 4 o'clock news coming up in a matter of just a few seconds, so we'll be switching over to that in just a few seconds. We want to give you a warning, let you know that you can switch over and turn on your television. World News is on right now, and they're about to sign off, so give us a couple of seconds. We'll be right back on ABC 7.
This is Eyewitness News with live breaking news.
We have breaking news. A brush fire still burning out of control near Murrieta. Homes are in danger. New evacuation orders have gone out. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm David Ono.
And I'm Ellen Leyva. This is Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock. The Tanaha fire is now burning into its second day near Murrieta. And this afternoon, more evacuation orders were issued. For the very latest on this breaking story, let's go right to Inland Empire reporter Leticia Juarez.
Well, we're here on Oak Bluff Lane, where about 3 o'clock hour, we really showed you how dangerously close this fire came to this neighborhood. Right now, you're seeing CAL FIRE Air Resources coming in. That's a water dropping helicopter where they've just been making drop after drop, making sure that they can get that water on top of where that fire was earlier, just making sure to get those flames out. And just across over here, this is an Apple Valley. This is a crew out of Apple Valley that have been working on this hillside just across from these homes. Earlier, this was on fire as well. They've managed to get that flames out. There's just a lot of brush in this area, and what residents have been telling us is this hasn't burned in quite some time. And one of the big issues that we saw in the 3 o'clock hour was the winds starting to kick up and that flames really starting to get a hold of that brush where it was off the top of the ridge around 1 o'clock, and then by 3 o'clock it just ran down the hillside there, really catching fire. Now, there's a look at some of the fire from earlier and what you're seeing there. We're told this fire has now reached 2,000 acres, 7% containment. The fire started yesterday as a possible lightning strike and quickly grew to 2,000 acres. They're still investigating investigating, but that's what they're telling us, a possible lightning strike that caused this fire. And then, of course, the wind picking it up and really carrying it. That caused several evacuations, first starting with the Copper Canyon neighborhood, an area near La Cresta, a neighborhood there called Trails Circle Lane. And then they issued some new evacuations about 2 hours ago now, and those evacuations were for the area of Montana Place, Bonita Place, Belacara Place, and Lone Oak Way. They told those folks that they needed to evacuate immediately. It was no longer voluntary, but immediately, just because the flames here really started to chew into the wildland here and get on a run with the wind pushing at it. And of course, we saw those flames really picking up and carrying to the north. And we're told that's kind of where the fire just went right now. What you're looking at, though, if you're back out here live, is just what the aftermath of what that fire did to this entire just mountain here. Just caught it on fire. They managed to get most of the flames out. There's little spot fires here and there, and they're just making sure those are out because they really want to protect the structures, the homes along Oak Bluff here, because they were in immediate danger when that fire came dangerously close. We're continuing to see a lot of those air resources from CAL FIRE flying overhead. Now, earlier when I did speak with CAL FIRE, they did tell me that this is a priority fire. They started to divert some of those air resources and assets from the Northern California area down here, and we really saw a lot of the mutual aid coming to the help of CAL FIRE with Santa Barbara County coming this morning. You had LA County, then you just had fire crews from throughout the area just coming in, trying to get as many firefighters, personnel, and heavy equipment with digging those fire lines, and of course also getting those air resources on top of the fire. Now, earlier, and I'm not sure if we have that ready to go, but we spoke to some residents just about just having to look at this fire and evacuate, some choosing to stay, some choosing to go. No sound. Okay, we'll try to get that to you much later. But right now, as you can tell, the fire is still very active. It's still a very active fire scene. They're asking folks to stay out of the area as they get this equipment in and out. One of the things you have to worry about, one of the reasons we're staying put ourselves, is that we don't want to run over these fire lines, because these fire lines could get damaged, they can get severed, and if that happens, especially with our heavy trucks, it could hamper the firefighting efforts. So that's one of the things we have to be concerned about as well, is making sure that CAL FIRE and the fire resources that are on scene have the ability to get the water out of those fire hydrants and onto these hillsides. But we're going to continue to watch this fire, monitor it here, and see what we can see. I'm going to see if there's any residents. Sir, are you a resident here? Yes. Do you mind if we ask you, we're live on Channel 7 right now, just kind of watching this. What were your thoughts?
Oh, it's sad, but the firemen are doing a great job, and the police, and they're keeping everybody safe and the home safe. So we really appreciate that from them.
We saw your neighbor, I believe he's an LA County firefighter, and his son really tried to protect their home when the fire just breached over there. I don't know if you saw what they were doing.
I know that they're over there trying to protect their home, and they're doing the best they can at this point.
It's amazing to see just how firefighters were able to get this out and really kind of save these homes here.
Yeah, it is amazing that they've got a lot of equipment here, a lot of helicopters, and they put all the equipment here just to save our homes. We appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much for speaking with us. That's a resident whose home here was protected and saved by fire crews that were able to put out that fire. So right now we're going to throw it back to you in studio. Continue to watch this fire and bring you any updates as we get them. Reporting live here in Murrieta, Leticia Juarez, ABC7 News.
Stressful times out there, and you've been doing amazing work, Leticia. Thank you for that. And let's go back to Chris Christie overhead, watching the firefight from above. Chris?
Yeah, David, these tankers are continuing to move in one after another, continuing to drop thousands of gallons of fire retardant, Phos-Chek fire retardant, drawing lines and trying to contain this fire. That's what's happening right now. We've spotted a couple of hot spots that are burning and smoldering right up against where they draw those lines. And once it gets to those pink marks, those red marks right through the ridge line there, it basically stops the fire right in its tracks. This is a ridge line. You can see that hot spot right there. It's going to smolder itself out and not continue to move to the west because of that Phos-Chek. But this is a ridge line that's right above Calle del Oso Oro, which is the neighborhood that we've been keeping an eye on here. That's where the flames appear to have gotten the closest. And really, the fuel that is able to burn behind this neighborhood is really all that's pretty much left. That's really all the fuel that they have to either watch it burn or put out hotspots as it approaches some of the backyards and some of these back streets here in the back of this neighborhood. And if they can contain that, then that'll do. That'll go really far in keeping this fire away from the rest of the homes, also away from Bear Creek Country Club, which is the neighboring golf course next to Copper Canyon. That is an area that appears to be relieved right now, assuming they can continue the progress that they're making here. But the point is, they are making tremendous progress. They are acting very aggressively, one water drop after another with the helicopters, phase check one after another with the air tankers, and together in concert, they are making considerable progress from where this fire was just even an hour ago. But you can see they're continuing because there is plenty of vegetation still in some of these backyards. So all it takes is one little ember, floats not too far and into somebody's backyard, and you have a new hotspot. So if they can manage that, again, the winds are cooperating, they should be able to get this fire, can't say under control because it's going to take a while before they can completely contain this fire. Only 7% contained, but really going a long way in keeping this fire at bay. At least the bulk of the flames that are getting close to this neighborhood. David?
All right. Yeah, Chris, great view from there. And another part of this whole story, of course, is the weather, Ellen. And luckily, the winds, it's not a Santa Ana event that's going on. Thank goodness.
Yeah, we're going to check in with Dallas Rains now because you've been keeping an eye on the weather out there. You've been mentioning these pop-up storms and perhaps the cause of this fire that started yesterday.
That's right, Ellen. It was this time yesterday I was tracking this thunderstorm just east of Temecula that was moving in that direction. There were several lightning strikes, and I feel pretty confident that that's what caused the fire. Certainly is a possibility. We don't get very many fires started in Southern California from lightning, but this one looks like it did. Look how hot it is out there. It's 95 degrees, humidity at about 32%. Winds around the south-southwest 13, but occasional gust up to 20. So this is typical of an afternoon weather pattern for our friends out in that area. In the afternoon, the winds pick up due to heating over the desert. Also, we have some big thunderstorms that started erupting in that Big Bear Lake area this afternoon. We have at this moment, there's one near Idlewild causing some heavy rain and a flash flood warning in effect for the Big Bear area. They've had already 2 inches of rain up around the Big Bear Lake area, and more showers and thunderstorms are occurring at this hour. You can see them there. So all of this area under a flash flood warning this afternoon. Then out in the desert further to the east, more heavy thunderstorms there. And look at this one just east of Acton. So we have a lot of action going on in the weather combined with the heat and the gusty winds over the fire zone. David and Ellen, we're going to be here watching this for you all afternoon. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Right. Those storms are dangerous, Dallas. Thank you for that. Oh,
absolutely. They can start fires, David. And if you're hiking or outside there, you can get struck by lightning.
Right. And there is, Dallas had mentioned, there is concern that perhaps this fire was started by lightning from one of yesterday's storms. And you just saw his radar showing that there were a number of other storms out there. There's lightning as well today, so we're going to have to watch those closely. We don't want a repeat of what happened yesterday going into today. And we're staying on top of this fire in Murrieta, and we'll have the very latest when we come back.
That was great. Hey there, Christina. You've got Chris and Rob up at the moment. Newscopter is on the ground at French Valley. How are we doing on fuel time-wise? What time do we have to get back to French Valley? What time do we have to get back to French Valley, fuel-wise? I know we just fueled. I know we're in good shape, but... What time, how much fuel do we have on board? All right, Christina, we should be good through the top of the 6 o'clock show. Top of the 6 o'clock show, we'll probably have to reevaluate. Let me know when we start streaming, and I will sprinkle in some commentary once I'm ready. Actually, whatever you have would be excellent. I don't have much. Facebook too. I saw a couple on Instagram. Which post? The spectacular? Oh. That's an easy one. Was I nice? Right? Hey, I did not copy that. Go ahead. 2 minutes. Copy that. 30 seconds. Yes, thank you. I meant to bring that up. Thank you, Rob. You're a lifesaver sometimes. Did I ever tell you that? Stand by. Where is that reservoir in relation to the golf course? Oh, I see it. Perfect. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see it. Ellen, continuing to watch this valiant firefight here in Murrieta. You can see tanker crews and helicopters continuing precision water drops and phos-check drops to draw a line around this fire and try and prevent this fire from jumping Clinton Keith Road. Now, the area you're looking at here is Copper Canyon near Calle del Oso Oro, and that's the neighborhood that's been under the gun over the last couple of hours as this fire really began to flare up almost out of nowhere. The wind not really a major factor this afternoon, but still this stubborn fire continued to progress forward overnight and is now knocking on the doorstep of the homes here in Copper Canyon. Again, we're right along Calle del Oso Oro where the fire is actually reaching the backyards, and they are making precision water drops and managing to keep this fire at bay. Reporting live from Mirror 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Sorry I went over. What was that? I missed it. 4:30. It's some. Killing me. Yeah. He went home early. Okay, so there's another hot spot that might be a little more relevant here at the end of this. Yeah. This is great. What's our altitude? Not bad at all. This is great. Thank you. Can you show me the fire station? The fire station should be on this side of the reservoir between the Phos-Check and the reservoir. There's a fire station. Up to the top, up and to the left. Is that it? Okay, so that's not the one I'm looking for. There's a Murrieta fire station, Station 5. That's right by the reservoir. Go over to the reservoir, on the other side. In there and tilt down. The back of that neighborhood, yeah, somewhere in there. There it is. I might reference it at some point, just know where it is. I might, yeah, when I reference it, that'd be cool. And maybe one for the reservoir, too. You type those, right? It could just say water. You don't have to say reservoir, just water. That's cool. That is cool. No, definitely not. What about that one hotspot? Is that one hotspot out that we were looking at, the one closest to the neighborhood? Or is it pretty much all out? I see a little active flame on this side, but I don't even care about that. I just... Copy that. Coming next. I lost... There we go. Ellen, considerable progress just in the last 30 minutes as we take a look, looking north at Copper Canyon and the area south of Calle del Oso Oro, which was really under the gun about an hour ago with flames kissing the backyards of these homes right here. Much of this neighborhood already evacuated. We look now, and it is mostly smoldering with very few flames left. That's one lone hotspot right there up on the ridgeline above Botanica Place that they are keeping a careful eye on. I'm sure they'll be preparing for a water drop here in the next few seconds. Those water drops have been continuing consistently all afternoon, thanks to that water resource right there on the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see that reservoir. That's just a short distance from this neighborhood, and right down the block from the fire station. It's provided immediate water for these helicopters to make continuous drops all afternoon, and in a matter of about 60 to 90 minutes, they have really been able to get a handle on the fire, which is coming up right up against this neighborhood. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. That's a great shot. We're live. That was further back in it, right? Away from the neighborhood? That must mean there's not much in... Yeah. Yep. Look at that. What's that? What's going on? Oh, there. How does the sky map adjust for the extender? Interesting. Oh, you're right. Copy that. Really? Little left pedal turn. Copy that, 2.5 minutes. Copy that. At the pace you're going in a minute and a half here, we'll be in the perfect spot here. You'll be able to show this hot spot here. They're tackling this, but far enough away. Yep. Stand by. Coming up in a second. See that plume of smoke there on the bottom? That's Coal Canyon. I'm going to talk about that. David, it's not out yet, but I got to tell you, we're making considerable progress up here in the Copper Canyon area, northern suburb of Murrieta here. You can see they're continuing to drop water in the Coal Canyon area right along the trail, which is very popular in this neighborhood. We're seeing some hot spots that they're tackling, but this area right here is far enough away from the homes that we're really under the gun a little bit earlier this afternoon, and now those folks, while many of them have been evacuated, are breathing a big sigh of relief along Single Oak Way and Oak Bluff, as well as Botanica Place. That entire neighborhood now relatively in the clear. All of the flames that we saw coming up against the backyards and the swimming pools, all of that fire is now out. Much of that vegetation has now been charred up with very little fuel left to burn, and certainly great news for the neighbors up here in Murrieta. Reporting live from Mayor 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Yeah, that's about right. Just an update for you. They really have made considerable progress and pretty much have most of the fire, especially near the neighborhood. It's all pretty much out now. I think so. Yeah. Melissa, how are you? Okay, copy. How long you want me to go? You got it. Sounds good. Coal Canyon, yep. Can we keep it in this direction for about 5 minutes? New flames. Mark, what a close call it was just a couple of hours ago for the homes in Copper Canyon, and they really have mitigated that threat dramatically in the last 30 minutes. This is an example of a hotspot that's a little bit further back, south along Clinton Keith Road, and that's where CAL FIRE is now starting to drop additional water, but they are now shifting their attention further back into some of these trails like the Coal Canyon Trail, again, further south from the neighborhood. A lot of these residents breathing a big sigh of relief after flames came very close to the backyards, even into near some of the swimming pools just about an hour ago. Just an entirely different landscape, though, in the last 30 minutes. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC7 Eyewitness News. I could tell. Lost everything. Yeah, we need to make sure they're still there. Did somebody make that call, or is Dan Duffin? Who are you texting? That's 6. Yeah, yeah. The way the sun hits those cumulus clouds is interesting. Really? Yeah, much better. We're doing the top of the sixth and then coming in. Lost it. Live picture, a minute and a half. Copy that. Got that, Rob? Cool. You broke up there again. In about a minute, you said? Hold on. Melissa? 6 minutes away, copy. 6 minutes. When? Could you imagine? Stand by, Christina. Let me touch base with you after this next tip. Hey there, Christina. I would say the top of the 7 is up in the air. No pun intended. Top of the 7 is up in the air. We could be back during the 7, although I really don't think there's going to be much left here to show by then. Sounds good. Melissa, did you say out of the break? Great, thank you. You got it. Uh, 30 seconds. So when we go in this direction, we lose it. That's back. Thank you, Michelle. A much better picture up here as we can see the neighborhood south of Calle del Oso Oro really breathing a sigh of relief as much of the flames that were pushing up against the backyards of those homes has really subsided. The firefighters doing an excellent job out here. CAL FIRE now focusing their attention on a number of hotspots further down along Clinton Keith Road to prevent this fire from jumping the road once again in the eastbound direction. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Yep. Yep. But you see what I'm saying here? If that wind shifts and these hot spots were to jump that fire line, that Foscheck, and that thing jumps that road, all of those homes are going to go. That golf course will go. Six minutes. Great. It's funny. 30 seconds. Michelle, those CAL FIRE air tankers continuing to drop water on this flare-up that started around 2 o'clock this afternoon, just south of the neighborhood along Casa del Oso Oro in Copper Canyon. The flames came perilously close to this neighborhood, but fortunately, as you can see, aside from some smoldering hotspots, the situation here in Murrieta is looking much better this evening. Good, reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC7 Eyewitness News. You got it. It's cool. What's your budget, roughly? I got to tell you, I might have the option. I'm gonna say it. I just picked up a camera for my Morocco trip. No, although this camera's amazing. It is tiny. It takes great pictures, like I would say better than iPhone quality pictures, which is great. But most importantly, it's primarily a video camera, and the video is absolutely fantastic. It's 4K video. It's gyro stabilized, so it's on a little gimbal like the shot over, and it is tiny. So literally, you can take it anywhere. You turn it on. There's one button to go back and forth between video and still pictures, and it doesn't have any zoom. So if you're looking for tight shots that are still, then it does not have that. If you're looking for zoom, um, well, I mean, if you're looking for zoom, on the other end of the field, you want to get those shots. This is the camera that you want. This is the one you want. It's not cheap, but for what you get, it's the best value in the market. It's the equivalent of a Hey there, Melissa. No new information, but I heard you about 2 minutes. I do not. You came in really low, but I think you said all Murrieta schools will be closed tomorrow? Copy. Copy that. Yeah, Mark, a much better situation as we approach the 6 o'clock 6 o'clock hour rather, after an early afternoon flare up here at the Tanaha Fire just south of Copper Canyon. The situation is looking really, really good. You can see a little bit of smoldering, a few hot spots still being attended to by CAL FIRE. They're continuing some water drops up into the Coal Canyon Trail, but overall, things are looking much better. However, it's going to take time to repopulate this neighborhood, and for that reason, it sounds like we've just gotten word that Murrieta schools will remain closed for one more day tomorrow. Reporting live from Mirror 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC7 Eyewitness News. You got it. Read the rest of it. That's the latest, yeah. Or all it takes is a bad iPhone charge. You'd be surprised if you get like one of the knockoff third-party. Sounds good. Thank you very much. Yes, I did. Is my mic up? Copy that. We're good. Copy all that. Cool. David, what a relief for the folks who live along Calle del Oso Oro here in Copper Canyon. These homes were under threat right around 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon when this entire part of the Tinaja fire really started to flare up and flames started to encroach on the backyards of this neighborhood right here. But after numerous successful water drops, this fire is relatively out. There are some hot spots a little further south. There's still some containment to be done around this fire, but these homes have certainly been spared the worst. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC7 Eyewitness News. We're clear. Yes, we are clear. Yep. Air 7 News Desk, we are heading back for fuel. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully.
or concerns that we may have. So with that being said, please again hold all your questions to the very end, and I'd like to welcome to the podium CAL FIRE Division Chief Todd Hopkins.
Good evening, Todd Hopkins for CAL FIRE, Riverside County Fire Department. Situational update is currently we're at 1,974 acres with a 10% containment. We have 2 structures that have sustained minor damage. We have entered into unified command with CAL FIRE, Riverside County Fire, and with Murrieta Fire and Rescue and Murrieta Police Department. We have just over 800 personnel that are assigned to the fire, and essentially what's been going on today is we have a difficult terrain to access the fire. It's been wind and topography driven. This is an area that we have a name for it called the Elsinore effect, where the winds will come out of one direction in the morning to where the wind will be blowing out towards the ocean, and then by the afternoon we'll get a 180-degree switch in the wind direction, and the fire will tend to start burning downhill and start coming back in the neighborhoods, and that's what we've seen for the past 2 days. We're still experiencing or expecting to have the same type of weather conditions for tomorrow. The crews are doing an excellent job at getting to the difficult access and trying to stop the fires before we're losing any more homes or any more damage to structures. I'll turn it now over to the Murrieta Police Chief.
Actually, it'll be the Murrieta Fire and Rescue Fire Chief. My name's David Lancer. Lancer is L-A-N-T-Z-E-R. I am the Fire Chief with Murrieta Fire and Rescue. As Chief Hopkins mentioned, we have established a unified command between CAL FIRE, Murrieta Fire and Rescue, and Murrieta Police Department. The City of Murrieta, we've opened, our EOC is fully functional. It was open since yesterday afternoon. Early on in the incident, we attached our battalion chief to liaison for information. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our partners in this effort to mitigate this incident, especially CAL FIRE. They've been enormous partners, working very well together, but also our city staff, who makes up the bulk of our Emergency Operations Center staffing. We've been staffing that 24 hours a day since yesterday, and they've done an enormous job. And I'd like especially thank our law enforcement partners, Murrieta Police Department, Riverside County Sheriff's Office. But special gratitude for me personally to the men and women from Murrieta Fire and Rescue for the efforts that they've put in to mitigating this incident over the last couple of days. Thank you.
My name is Sean Haddon, S-E-A-N, last name H-A-D-D-E-N, Police Chief for the City of Murrieta. Just want to address a few things. As mentioned, this is a rapidly evolving incident, so we are asking people to stay out of the area. We have Calle del Oso Oro Road closed through traffic. We're asking to stay out of the area. Wait till the helicopter passes. We're asking them to stay out of the area to give the fire personnel the room they need to fight the fire. We also have numerous officers from Murrieta Police Department and sheriff deputies from Riverside Sheriff's Department in the area. They're there to keep people out of the area, keep the roads closed and open for fire personnel, and to secure the homes that are there. So far, over the last 24 hours, we evacuated approximately 570 homes. Of those homes, about 141 have decided to stay in place. Most of those were from the first evacuation last night, so those numbers may have changed. We understand residents want to get back into their homes, and we understand, but now is not the time because it's still a very dangerous situation. But we are working close with CAL FIRE, Murrieta Fire and Rescue, other city departments, and as soon as we can allow those residents back into their homes, we'll do that. We ask that those residents keep track on our website, murrietaca.gov. We'll have most up-to-date information for the Murrieta residents. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll take a few questions from the media. Do you want to just remind you guys that after we break free with our incident commanders so they can get back to the duties that they have, we'll be available as PIOs right here in front of this vehicle for any questions you guys may have. So go ahead.
And can you touch a little bit more? You touched on a little bit about the wind, what you're expecting. It's dying down, I think you said, for the night, but you expect it to come back up tomorrow. Can you talk about that? So the predicted winds are, we're getting thunderstorm buildups, and like I said, we get a wind coming usually out of the north in the morning here, then the wind will transition to a southwest wind. And what happens is the fire will lay down overnight as the wind calms. The fire will then start to burn in the opposite direction, burning to the south, and then eventually what will happen is usually around noontime to 1 o'clock, we get basically a 180-degree wind shift. That's what in this area, we call the Elsinore effect. It's usually a stronger wind in the afternoon. When it happens, we start getting wind gusts, and that's where our fire will start actually have the ability to run downhill, and that's where we start getting our spotting potential. And when the spot fires happen, they start throwing ember casts out into a receptive fuel out in front. That's where it becomes real difficult for the firefighters to maintain that control line. So it's something that we expect. We also expect to have the thunderstorms build up in the area. Thunderstorm buildup that's happening over the San Jacintos. If a cell collapses, then we can get winds going in all different directions, which then we get erratic winds at the fire, and it pushes fire in all directions up through the ranges. Do you have a guess on if containment will go up or down when you look at it again in the morning? Well, I'm hoping that usually when evening time, as long as we can get crews in safely and continue to go direct and cut line, that our containment's going to go up. We always look out for the safety of our crews, making sure that depending on the steepness of the slopes or what conditions they're working in, if we can continue to push them throughout the evening. But our goal is to increase the containment by morning is what we're hopeful for. Do you expect any evacuations to be lifted by tomorrow morning? I can't speak to that. If we're going to do any evacuation lifts tonight, I'd have to get together with our partners from Murrieta PD and find out if that's doable, and also talk with our operations people that are out on the line. It's all for the safety of the public. We don't want to keep the public out of their houses any longer than we need to, but we keep them out for their safety, and we also keep them out for our first responder safety.
Chief, there was a concern for looters in the area. Have you heard of any incidents or anybody being affected by it?
I'll turn that over to Chief.
So the question was concern over looters in the area. We've had no reports of that. We have numerous officers and deputies assigned to the area, so residents can be pretty sure their house is secure.
Can we talk about
anything else? We'll take one more question, just because of time.
Two minor damage going to one street, or are they around just throughout the area?
I don't have information on exactly where those homes are. That's still an investigation that's going on, but I do know we have two minor damage homes. All right, so what we're going to do is end the press conference now. Again, our PIOs that are available on scene will be available to you here in front of the vehicle, and I thank you guys for coming. Have a great night.
Sir, will there be any other updates tonight?
There'll be something comes out in print probably within the next hour or hour and a half. But no more press conference. We'll be evaluating. They gave me